Good afternoon, everyone. As we're waiting for people to trickle in, I'll just introduce myself and give some ground rules for the webinar. My name is Mariah. I'm with the University of Arizona Center for Rural Health. Welcome to the webinar. Again, while we have people joining, we just want to take a minute to express our gratitude to our partners, the Arizona Telemedicine Program and the Southwest Telehealth Resource Center. Next slide. Some notes for this webinar: the audience will be muted for the webinar, but we encourage you to enter questions throughout the webinar in the chat box. We'll have 2 times that we answer these questions throughout this webinar. At the webinar, or after the webinar, a survey will pop up in your web browser. We'd really appreciate you taking a moment to complete this survey. It helps to have your feedback. And lastly, a recording to the webinar will be posted after it. Next slide. Today, we are very excited to hear from Lena Cameron and Kevin Phillips on Peers and Family Support Specialists, Opportunities for Rural Arizona. Lena is a program coordinator for the Arizona Center for Rural Health. Her background is in public health with experience in several programs relating to opioid use. And Kevin Phillips' primary role is training parent and family support specialists, but he is also actively involved in training recovery support specialists and connecting our curriculum to real-world examples. And with that, I will hand it over to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mariah. Alrighty. So before, I know the slide says PeerWorks, but before, just to kind of go back a little bit, the 2 programs that we are talking about today, PeerWorks and Project Future, do have some similarities. So both these programs are funded through HRSA and have the same goal of overall, we want to increase the number of behavioral health paraprofessionals in the workforce. And so I'll go a little bit into some more specifics on that in a bit. But the overall structure of the programs, they are pretty similar as well. So you'll hear me talk about Level 1 and Level 2. Level 1 is a 6-month online training program where people with lived experience become certified behavioral health paraprofessionals. So for PeerWorks, this means that they'll become certified peer support specialists at the end of the program. And for Project Future, this means that they will become family support specialists at the end. And so during the 6 months, they will receive a stipend for living costs. They can borrow technology to participate in the training. And we also help them go through their fingerprint clearance card process, as well as equip them with CPR and first aid. Also, as a part of this Level 1, we do try to place trainees into in-person shadowing opportunities so that they get a chance for hands-on learning as part of this Level 1 component. And so at the end of the 6 months, we also have a Level 2 for interested graduates of the program, where this is a apprenticeship through DES, which is the Department of Economic Security, I think. So what we do is we handle all of the registration on our end for getting the apprenticeship set up that way, but we partner with partner sites to have our graduates spend a year in an apprenticeship program. And so to do this, we give partner sites some funds for any kind of administrative onboarding efforts, as well as some stipends to offset the cost of any hired apprentices. And so during this year, we do offer ongoing support, and this is both for the partner sites and for the apprentices. So any kind of things that come up, they will get support throughout that entire process from us. So that's kind of the background for both of those programs, but kind of delving in a little more specifically at PeerWorks. So again, this is for peer support specialists. This is a BWET grant. And so what that is a behavioral health workforce education and training grant, which was launched in 2022. And so what this grant really focuses on is promoting peer support in the rural primary care and integrated healthcare settings. So we have trainees in this program from all over the state, sometimes in places where there's not a lot of resources or organizations that are currently operating. And so we have been helping train up some of the workforce in these areas. And so where we're at with PeerWorks right now is that we have graduated 1 cohort. We're in the middle of our 2nd cohort, And then the next cohort will be happening sometime next year. And so I do have the link to our website on the slide, but I will also be putting that at the end of my little talk into the chat for easy access. And so I think that wraps us up on PeerWorks. If we could advance to Project Future. So Project Future is an OIFSP grant. And so what this is the Opioid Impacted Family Support Program grant, which launched in 2021. These are for parent and family support specialists. And so actually what Kevin will be talking about in a little bit is the kind of what distinguishes this type of specialist. And the goal is to promote family support in behavioral health settings. And so where we're at with Project Future is that we've had 5 cohorts graduate, and our next one is happening next year. And so before I let Kevin go on his portion of the presentation, I do have a little call to action. So we are actively looking for partners both for the level 1 observation partners as well as an apprenticeship partner. So if anyone is interested in either hosting some of the observation hours or potentially hosting any apprentices, or if you're curious and you want to learn more, we are totally open to having those discussions. I will be putting my contact information into the chat when I'm done talking your ear off. So we've worked with people, any kind of health organization that has like a behavioral health focus or offers behavioral health services. This includes, we've worked with hospitals, coalitions, clinics, nonprofits, so really a wide variety of settings. And so I will be putting those links into the chat, but if there are any questions, I will be open to those if there are any right now, as I put in some links into the chat.
It does not look like there's any questions yet, but we did get a comment about how great the program and partnership is. So just kudos to you guys on that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. So this is our Project Future site. And I will be sending PeerWorks through now. But if there aren't any questions now, I will be putting in my contact information, and I'm sure we'll hang on a little bit at the end. But if Kevin, if you want to take it away, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lena. Hi, I'm Kevin Phillips. I am, as mentioned, I am an instructor here. I train for Project Future. I also train a little bit. I make some appearances with PeerWorks, and I'm currently doing the RSS Institute here within the building. I am also a graduate of Project Future. This program changed my life, and I will always be grateful for it. So I graduated from level 1, and I was an apprenticeship and worked within the workforce for a while. The goal, the ideas around that what I'm trying to do within while providing family support a lot of times is creating an atmosphere of acceptance and understanding, and helping to develop resilience for those that are in recovery. And we do that by applying the same kind of ideas around peer support of acceptance, and but applying that to all the natural supports for those within recovery, because they're only in the clinic an hour or 2 a week at most, and then the rest of the time they're at home. So we want to help create spread that message of support all over. So that's kind of what we do. And today I am going to illustrate that with a little bit of a story. This is Sammy. Sammy is a great kid, very funny. He is charming, as you can see. He looks like a charming illustration, I assume. And loves to play. He goes to school. He's funny in that he likes to make people laugh. And see, he's athletic and he likes to run around. But like a lot of kids his age, he struggles with understanding boundaries and maybe some ways to cope with adversity in his life, because he's only, I don't know, he looks like he's 8. We'll go with 8. So Sammy, one day he's at school and he kind of is making the kids laugh, and he's, jumps up in front of his teacher, interrupting the teacher in the middle of it, trying to make him laugh because it's really like fuels some of the acceptance around him. And the teacher gets upset, of course, because he's interrupting the class, and he kind of has been doing that for a little bit. So she asks him to stop, and Sammy immediately goes in from this kind of emotional high of like the class is thinking I'm funny, down to this kind of oh no, I've done something wrong, I'm disappointed, I've let this authority figure in my life down, and I'm in trouble, and I doesn't fully understand it. And his emotional state exceeds his ability to cope right now. And so he gets upset, gets angry, doesn't fully understand what's going on. She's asking him to sit down and start behaving. And he knocks something off her table, breaks a window. So at this point in time, he has to teach our system to the hospital. This is behavior that we don't want to encourage people breaking windows in the class. Of course, this is gonna have to be addressed further. So he's sent to the principal's office. And the principal is like, "What's going on, Sammy?" No, he's really just having a breakdown. He's really in a state of crisis. And he's like, "It's not my fault," and all that stuff. And the teacher's like, or the principal's like, we're gonna have to call your mom and dad, and they're gonna have to come here and have a conversation. Of course, that just makes it worse for Sammy, but still has to happen. So he calls the father. Father can't get a hold of father because father's at work. Calls the mother. She's also at work, but is able to get a hold of her. But it takes her a little while to get in. But she finally makes it in. And she comes in and she's like, "What's going on?" And the principal's like, "Well, Sammy broke a window, and we got to talk about some of his behaviors, and his behavior's not acceptable. There's interrupting, it's the rest of the class, which is fair. Like, this is fair. He's definitely interrupting the class, and he's destroying school property, and we can't have this." And mom's like, "Well, I'm so sorry that this happened. This is not usual behavior for Sammy, but recently my husband lost his job, and he just had to get a new job, and things have been really hard. And so both of us are now working because of the change in income from the job loss. And things have been just really tough. We haven't been able to spend as much time with Sammy, and maybe he's acting out." And the principal was like, "Okay, well, sure, that's understandable. We still can't have this kind of behavior in the class. Like, we're going to talk about what we're going to do about it." So the school counselor comes in, and he's like, "Hey, I heard about what happened." And the mom's like, "I'm so sorry. Sammy's not normally like this. It's just that my husband lost his job. We had a change of income, and now both of us are working, and it's been a real challenge to have us home." And counselor's like, "Well, I can give you some recommendations to go to some clinics in the area." Great. But there's still the issue of the window. So the school resource officer comes in and evaluates the situation, and then they determine, okay, pay for the window, and we won't press any charges or anything like that. She says, "Yes, be happy to pay for the window. It's just things have been really financially tight because my husband lost his job, and then now we're both working. We're not able to, and things are really tight right now." And she says, "Well, I'll give you a number. You can set up a payment plan." She says, "Great." And this teacher comes in to check on Sammy because she's really concerned about Sammy. And so there's like, "Hey, what's going on? Sammy's not normally like this." And the mom's like, "Yeah, I know, but we haven't been able to spend as much time with him recently because my husband lost his job. Now we're both having to go to work, etc." So mom goes home, a little overloaded, goes home with Sammy, tries to help comfort Sammy, but also is confused. Do I comfort him in the state of crisis? Do I need to be a little bit harsher with him, a little bit more strict with him? I'm not entirely sure. But she kind of balances it between the two and figures it out, and they go on their way. So now she's at home. She makes the call to the first place, which is to set up financial payments. So she explains to the person on the phone, my husband. The person on the phone's like, "Great, I got your account here. I see that you have to make payments. Here's the amount of the window." And she says, "Okay, great." And I said, "Can you make monthly payments $100, whatever?" She said, "Well, no, I can't because my husband just lost his job, and now we're both working, and we don't have as much money anymore. And so we're trying to get back on our feet, and that's a lot of money for us right now." It's like, "Okay, well, that's right. I can work with that." And they bring it down to like $20 a month. Great. So then she calls the clinic, and she's like, "Hey, I got a referral to you from the school because my Sammy broke the window, and then we got in trouble, and now we have to pay for the window, and it's just really, really hard. How can?" And she goes, "Okay, well, yeah, we can definitely get you in. can I get your insurance information? She says, well, we just lost our insurance because my husband just lost his job. And now we're both going back to work and our new insurance hasn't kicked in yet. So we don't really have his insurance anymore. And she says, no problem. You got a school referral, right? She's like, yes, I did get a school referral. She goes, great. Call this other line. They'll be able to set you up with services. We're just the access line. So the other line is like, hey, how's it going? She's like, great. I got a school referral because we don't have insurance. My husband lost his job and we haven't got set up with new insurance, but we do have a school referral. And she's like, great. And she's like, I see that here. I got the school referral. I can get you all set up. We'll get you in 3 weeks for an intake. And she's like, okay, great. If at this point in time, by the way, you're sensing some form of frustration, repetitiveness, this is all intentional. This is what it is generally like before people walk into the door. I'm sure many of you probably relate to elements of this story. And yeah, it's rough. So mom's waiting. Mom's talking 3 weeks before the appointment. Mom's telling her friends, what's going on with Sammy? Well, here's what happened. You know what you should do? You should go to the active parenting class. She's like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's right. And then our other friend's like, you know what you should do? You should be a little bit more strict. You need to have more routine. You need to have clear, concise punishment. Another friend's like, oh, I never would have gotten away with this kind of behavior. My mom would have really taken care of it. That's what you need to do. You need to be a lot more aggressive. And she's just getting opinions from everybody, none of which is helping give clarity to maybe next steps. So the 3 weeks comes around and mom picks up Sammy and Sammy's mostly doing better. But then they go to an intake. And the intake's like, how's it going? And mom's like, it's going well. Here's what happened. Sammy broke the window. I lost my job. And now we're both working. We don't spend as much time with them. But I have to take time off here I'm having to take time off from work in order to come in here and do an intake. So it's been really rough. And I also have this additional payment that I'm doing, and we were already kind of catching up to begin with. So this is just setting us further behind. And intake person's like, okay, well, Sammy, tell me about Sammy. What makes you happy? What are your strengths and all this stuff? Now, if you also notice, everybody here is doing their job the way that they're supposed to be doing it and is being helpful. This is kind of an ideal situation. So at some point during the intake, they say to Sammy, Sammy's mom is like, hey, look, I need to talk to Sammy alone for a while. Just to, so that he can be a little bit more, there's no, so his answers aren't being adjusted by not being comfortable saying things with you in the room. Mom's like, okay, that's fine. So she goes out and she's standing alone out in the clinic, which feels odd. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation as a parent, but it's weird, right? You're like, well, I know, my son says things sometimes there's, I understand it. People that know him understand it. This person doesn't know him. Who knows what he's going to say, and maybe I'll get in trouble, and I'll have to further explain things. Or maybe he'll say things that he doesn't want to tell me, and I'm also worried about that. Like, oh my goodness, what kind of parent am I? Or my son doesn't feel comfortable telling me about the trauma that he's experiencing because he just wants me to be proud of him and love him. And I haven't created an atmosphere where he feels loved no matter what, and that he doesn't feel this unconditional love. Maybe that's what's going on. And certainly, as a parent, I'm worrying about that, sitting out in a room by myself. So, in this particular clinic, along comes family support partner, introduces herself. Hi, I'm the family support partner here. How you doing? Mom says, I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. I came in, my son got in trouble at school, and it's been really hard, and we're here, and he's in an intake now, and they told me to wait out here. And she's like, okay, but how are you managing that? What are you doing with that? And she's like, well, I'm honestly, it's just kind of been hard. And it's like, the family support partner knows how hard it is to walk in that door, knows how all the anxieties, am I doing this right? Am I not doing this right? Am I a good parent? Am I a bad parent? Am I guilty? Did I create this possibility for them? Am I ruining my kid? All these concerns and stresses and all these things. Family support partner understands that and can meet this parent where they're at and can understand it and can sit down and talk with mom and say, hey, you're going to be all right. These feelings happen. I went through the same kind of thing. Maybe not the same thing, but I understand these feelings as a parent. And I don't need to tell them that, or family support partner doesn't need to tell them that. It's going to come across in how we talk and listen. It's going to come across in the connection that we make with the families that we work with. And now that that connection is there, and mom doesn't have to repeat the story about Sammy anymore. It doesn't have to be this repetitiveness. It can be just, what are your concerns, mom? Well, I don't know. You know, my parents told me this and school told me this, and I don't know what. Honestly, the way I was raised was different. And that's okay. Yeah. Which ones did you like to hear about? Do you want me to you want to go around? We can go around and tour different parenting classes if that's what you're interested in. What would you like to do? Well, it's a small community here, and I don't, where do you even get classes like this? Oh, I got a list. I have a list of all the parenting classes around here. Are you interested in that? We do some here. There might be some down the street, other side of town, in another town. Tell me about what kind of things are you dealing with? We can help support you through these barriers. So that's what being a family support partner is about. It's very similar to being a peer support partner, but it comes from a different life experience. And it's my firm belief that when we can maintain a connection to those that are supporting those that are in treatment, that we can make a difference for those seeking treatment. We can create, so now when Sammy goes home, and the next time mom might learn about what are coping strategies, what coping strategies are going to work best in my household. And mom can go through and pick out which coping strategy she thinks is going to work best for Sammy in her home environment without anybody telling her, do this one, do this one, do this one. She can have somebody that's going to help her advocate for choices of how that environment of resiliency can be developed. And the next time somebody's like, sorry, you can't get into individualized therapy because there's a waiting list and it's going to be 3 months. Maybe mom's not going to just give up and like, come on, Sammy, we're going to go elsewhere, or we're going to go, we're going to look at let's just not do it. I can't wait 3 months for this. Same, I'm dealing with a lot right now. So maybe mom will have somebody that she can talk to and say, we have to wait 3 months. And somebody who's going to, she trusts, and somebody she'll come back and talk to next time she gets frustrated with the treatment process, and maintain that connection for those making decisions. So that's it. That's my presentation. Open for questions.
Yeah, I think we have a couple. The first one that I saw came through is, what does a person need to have in terms of qualifications to be part of one of these programs?
And the qualifications are slightly different between the two programs. Lena, do you want to answer that?
Yes, so definitely there's more information on those websites that I shared in the chat, and I can definitely put those back in if that is helpful. But they break it down between the two programs. So I think we are looking for like lived experience, and we asked a little bit more about that in our application. And I want to say that's it. We try to keep the entry into these programs as low barrier as we can. To make it more accessible. Like, we want people to be able to have this opportunity and succeed in the program. So for sure, check those websites out, and I'll go ahead and put those back in the chat.
For family support, you do not have to have lived experience with substance use disorder, but you do have to have supported somebody, like a family member, through the process. But it could also be yourself having gone through some of the process. So I think the requirements from the grant on Future is specific to substance use disorder. The familiarity with systems really helps out in that case. So having gone through some aspect of going to clinics or dealing with signing up for access and going through all that process will certainly help. But also just know, and you don't have to be a parent even. It is family in general. A lot of information about family support out there is very specific to being a parent, but I'm also doing presentations on what that looks like, and had a lot of discussions around what that looks like among adult populations. As a husband, as a wife, as a brother, as a sister, as the child of somebody receiving services, depending on age. I think you have to be 21 for Future, if I'm not mistaken. So so just not specific to parents. You don't have to be a parent of a child that's gone through this. But just having those, if you've ever dealt with any of the feelings I kind of described on like, am I making the situation worse? Am I making the situation better? And you want to, and you can associate and connect with people and have the empathy for people that are going through that, then look into the program.
Perfect. And then on the other side of that, I know we have some partners on this call, which is great to see the support. But if they're not currently a partner and want to have these specialists, who's the best contact? Lena, I know you put your information in the chat. Are you the best one to reach out to?
Yeah, definitely reach out to me, and I'll put that one more time in the chat as well. I live on my email. So please send me an email whenever you'd like. I'd love to schedule a call with you and get you some more information and discuss a little bit more about what you're looking for.
Perfect. And those were the only two questions that I saw come through. So we'll let people take down your emails, but thank you both for the presentation. It was really great and informative. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much.
I put my email address. Oh, I messed it up. It's supposed to be EDU. I promise I know how to type. I put mine in there. I am always excited to talk about family support and how that could be implemented in different communities, in different clinical environments, from forensic family support, like how do we support people, families of those that are justice involved, to family support of youth, family support of adult populations that are any discussions, whether that's brainstorming or you just have some basic questions around the program. I'm always happy to have that discussion.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. And thank you everyone for attending. Just remember to take a few moments to complete that survey that'll pop up in your browser, and have a great day.